Yes, welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak. US Farm wants to build Nairobi Mombasa expressway, which cuts the journey time by half. But what exactly does that mean? Is it a road too far for the economy? Asks the Daily Nation on the front page. 450 billion shillings, one estimate of the total project cost. Earlier projections by PwC had put the cost at 230 billion. At current estimates, the project will cost about 1 billion shillings per kilometer. Now we're talking about a 6-lane expressway, totally independent from the current road between Mombasa and Nairobi. A new road, which will mean getting new land, which will mean compensating people who sit on that land. But what does this mean? Are we even ready, coming only months after the SGR was started working? Remember, the government already has debts way above 5 trillion shillings. Now we're talking about more debt, because this, according to the Daily, will be built by an American firm, and that will mean more money, and it will be in the form of a loan. Now, the president of this country is going to meet President Donald Trump next week, and this could just be one of those discussions. So when you see it on the front page, this looks more of a reality than just talking. But do you think it's the right time to build a totally different road? We have this one highway. Yes, we know the problems that come with it. We already have the SGR, which is yet to break even, which we are still trying to learn how to go about it. A lot of issues, including land reclamation, compensation for landowners, still coming from that project. Are we ready to take up another project of that magnitude in terms of this expressway?
You know, Fred, Kenya is one country that I would say we are very blessed. Being ready, I think we are ready as a country that is moving forward. We need to ask ourselves, the Kenyans that we have given the job, are they ready to do the right thing and spare their country, not to go through what we went through SGR, and say, I am here to ensure the right price, you know, because it's not just the officers who are on, it is also the landowner. Maybe we have already those who have already gone and bought from the poor ones, and now they have this land. Somebody who lives very far from that area is already an owner of that land. But I'm hoping this express highway is not going to go on land. I'm hoping now we can go up.
Either way, it will have to occupy some space.
Well, it has to go up. If it occupies space, that is government space. So you are not giving any person to say, I mean, you're not compensating people their land or something. So government has to think on that, because this thing of land, surely people have taken advantage. We have people in government who leak early, and they go and tell people, you know, this thing is going to pass through here, and you find people coming there, buying innocently. The owners of that land don't know there will be a time such a project will pass. So they just sell their land in a very modest way. And then you come and do a kill with government to just make your money.
And
those are things that we need
a lot,
to ask.
even with the SGR. But now we're seeing something else, and this has to do with the scramble, the new scramble for Africa. Business in Africa, trade with Africa. China has really made inroads into this continent with what they're calling this infrastructure belt. But of course, the US has felt a bit left behind. Are we seeing an attempt by the US to try and get a share of the cake as well? That we gave the Chinese an opportunity to build the SGR, then the Americans say, now, okay, fine, give us this thing. Are we in some way being bullied into this?
Actually, you just picked words off my mouth. One thing I would tell the president is that he is doing his last term, so he has no obligation to fear anyone or to please anyone. All he needs is to leave a legacy. And I can tell you, in terms of leaving a legacy, he must prioritize, one, on his foreign policy and his national policy. His foreign policy, just like the Americans have put America first, for him should be Kenya first. The same way I say his internal policy for Kenya should be dealing with impunity. If he can focus on those two areas, then I can tell you that would be a legacy. He doesn't need, you know, what we call the four, what are they called? The Big Four agenda. The Big Four agenda will move to the Big 20 agenda automatically if at the international level, it's Kenya first, and at the local level, it's dealing with impunity. And the reason I'm saying this is that the President of the United States is a businessman. Everybody knows, even before he became president, he was a businessman. And if you actually listen to CNN and international news a lot, if you actually look at all the issues that are being, being raised about his leadership, it's about even his own family doing businesses abroad.
Yeah.
He's a businessman par excellence. And Kenya should not be bullied into things that favor the U.S. at our own expense. U.S. is our friend for many years. It hosts many Kenyans. We've done a lot of good work with them. But the policy, the American thought, the American thinking under the Republican administration is about America first and doing business. It is not about the softer issues, human rights issues, sustainable development issues. And because of that, they don't care the impact this road may have on Kenyans.
Yes.
So I would want to encourage the president, even as he goes out, not to allow himself to be bullied into something, a project that does not benefit Kenya. I'm not saying it on the face of it, it's a bad project, because I have not, looked at all, and neither has the country, because we have not looked at environmental impact assessment. We have not looked at the social impact assessment. We have not done all those things. For instance, the SGR, which we have just done. Are we, in effect, killing the SGR that we made so much noise, we put so many billions, and it is not even breaking even already. In fact, I think the other day I saw that it is actually making losses. If we want to encourage SGR to grow, then wouldn't it be important that the cargo then moves to the SGR so that then we build our own?
Yes.
This is about Kenya first. When we were, in the last parliamentary time, we complained when we were campaigning against Jubilee. This was one of our flagship campaigns, if you may say, because we were saying Jubilee is putting too much money on the SGR, that it was overpriced.
Yes.
Now, if it is overpriced, and we have said I don't know how many years before we can actually saying that we're seeing the benefit of SGR, we are already killing SGR. It sounds fantastic on paper. It sounds amazing, because we are talking about issues of tourism and accessing Mombasa and making a tourism sector well. But first, let us do environmental impact assessment, social impact assessment, political impact assessment, every manner of assessment that we can do in this country.
Back to the issue of the president and Kenya's foreign policy, because immediately after meeting President Trump in the US, in Washington, President Kenyatta will be back here and host the British Prime Minister Theresa May here before heading to China for another meeting with the leadership there. But what we are seeing in terms of his legacy is that in his tenure, that's when this national debt hit 5 trillion shillings, and it appears it could go up even further. That says a lot about President Uhuru Kenyatta's foreign policy, that his way of relating with other countries has actually ended up burdening Kenya even more. Any other president could have done it. Looking at it in a simplistic way, if it's just about borrowing money to build roads, even President Mwai Kibaki would have done the same and probably would have ended up with such kind of debt. Don't you think that the way President Uhuru Kenyatta has been relating with other nations is a bit of an issue?
One of the things I would say is that the challenge my president faces is that by the time he was coming in with this development, we had also the new dispensation coming in. And therefore, you have your counties that you need to focus on and fund, which is the same money you are removing and funding, because counties is as if when there's no money from national government, then counties can even go to their knees, because it's like their local resources. I don't know, it's like it went to, it's something that we don't even talk about. And that is why in 2 months you find a county saying, I have not paid my workers, I'm still waiting for national government, but yet you have your local revenue. Now, until you harness all that and you ensure that the counties are able to stabilize themselves so that you save money to go to this development, then that is why we are at 5 trillion. And to make it worse, we are at 5 trillion with Chinese not with any other, with the Chinese, who, when I look at their houses, the way they are building, God help us, they should not go for affordable houses, because they will not build houses. They will give us things in 5 years, you won't have the house.
Yes.
Let us start
and
talking now.
Looking about $500 billion more from the Americans.
Then when I look at my SGR, I go inside that locomotive and I am questioning myself. I'm asking, was this a new locomotive or it's a second-hand locomotive? And I'm sorry to say that, because I look at the seats are going. And yet we haven't finished a year with it. Yes. And you know, you come here, and because and I've realized people take advantage sometimes where the leadership does not enter in those smalls to see and sit on that seat and ask yourself, this was a new coach. It needs to serve me for 5 years, not 1 year.
Yes.
But the seats, when you're going right now to
what is the value for money?
What the value? The value for money. And yet you are telling us we are supposed to be paying this, and then you are telling us
some of the questions we should be asking ourselves
in
as far as our relations with other countries and the kind of projects we engage in.
That foreign relation policy, especially with China, my president has to relook at it. And I'm a very good friend of China. But I'm saying worth of money, value of money, because you can't burden a country and leave us crying like Ghana right now.
Unfortunately, our time is over, but yes, even as we talk about that, as you make your final comments, we're also into another deal with Uganda for another 150-kilometer road.
You know, and one of the things that I'm very worried about is that the Jubilee government seems to not have a cohesive approach to things. We are trying to do 6 kilometers to Mombasa, then we are seeing Ruto and Museveni launching another 150 kilometers road. What needs assessment was done? Who has said that? I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I'm saying, who does it benefit? Does it benefit Uganda? Does it benefit us? But above, really on this issue, the more worrisome things for me is the kind of friends that we keep. Look at what President Yoweri was doing to the MP Bobi Wine just the other day. Beat up the guy mercilessly when we are in a period of democracy and rule of law. There are certain things that are barbaric that should not even be seen or heard or in Africa anymore. And if these are the kind of friends that we are keeping, it worries me, honestly. And for me, I don't think this is actually even the right time to be discussing things with Uganda. We should hold them to account. We cannot come in with a sort of mentality of China where there are no strings attached. If you are doing business with you, you must also have a reasonable record. We must also have a reasonable record of human rights. So while we are discussing with Museveni, he should also tell us how he's treating his own citizens. While if his own MPs, he can treat like a dog like that, honestly. I was very outraged. I wanted to picket on my own, on behalf of Bobi Wine, who I've never met or seen, but I know of.
Through his songs, definitely.
Through his songs, of course.
Final comments, Madam Speaker.
Well, my final comments. One, I know there's something that is being cooked, and I can see we are about to bring now the police into one service, and I am very worried.
You're talking about the AP and
the regular police. And people forget, we went round the country during the constitution time in Bomas. And every Kenyan said, let the APs remain and let the blues remain. Do their service, do. For us, we support the AP with reasons. One, they are always at the grassroots. You'll find them doing even health camps for citizens around the country. They are always at the chief's place. They are the first call when you find them. Now, when you come and mix them, and Kenyans won't even understand in the rural, now is it the regular police or what? It will be a disaster. And anyway,
are you concerned that is not even making it to the headlines?
I'm wondering why it is not making headlines. And I want to plead with my president. You have Mbogwa now in State House. He can explain to you why in Bomas, because I remember when I was running around with the women issues, Mbogwa was always in the tent of security.
With the AP issues.
With the AP issues. And I'll never forget how passionate he brought in the issue. And the late Mbai really pleaded, I remember. And so I want to plead with my president. Sit down, the way you have said you are relooking at the issue of teachers transfer, whatever. This is a big issue. You need to look at it, because when you merge them, the conflict that you will create is a conflict that we will be in disaster, because they will be fighting each other, killing each other, and killing us in the name of now we won't even know who killed.
Wow.
And the last one, he should really call his team, let them give him the paper. But I remember when I was in Senate reading a paper that was done way back in the 60s, and that they really said clearly, never merge the APs with the police.
With the
Each have
police.
their roles. That is why the Constitution also is very clear. We have a service with two distinct. And so, even the ones who are above 50 are saying, pay us our pension for us to live. We can't go that route. Even government doesn't have money to pay the pension.
And that's one
so I'm
issue.
pleading with my president, relook at that issue of the APs and my regular police, and don't merge them for the sake of the country.
Proposal to merge the police wings. Well, that is one.
Kenya first.
Kenya first.
And just for information, actually, I'm on my way right now to Mbita to meet the people of Mbita.
Okay.
We wish you well, Millie.
Yes.
And God bless you.
Pass our regards to the people of Mbita. Thank you so much, Millie Odhiambo, MP Suba North, and Beatrice Elache, Speaker, County Assembly of Nairobi, helping us look at the big issues behind the headlines this morning. Do stand by for another big interview, of course, as tributes continue pouring in following the death of former UN Chief Kofi Annan. Wahiga Maora will be sitting down with Yashpal Gai, an academic and constitutional law expert, right here to discuss more on that. Who and what exactly did Kofi Annan mean to Kenyans? Quite a number of different reactions depending on different geographic areas and how he managed to help them in their own situations. In the case of the Kenyan situation, of course, he is seen as a hero, and of course that discussion will be happening right here. Daybreak is a hashtag to use. Citizen TV Kenya is our Twitter handle. My Twitter handle is @FredIndimuli. Let's take a break.